All right, wonderful. Greetings, family. Welcome to the Antoni to Bo Show, presented by Shades of Unity PDX. We want to thank you for joining us, sacrificing your time, come in here, hang out with your guy. My name is Antoni Bo. I'm here as a life participant. I want to thank the Shades of Unity PDX crew. We have worked together in Shades of Unity within schools, in the community for going on 16 years now. And I believe it's time for us to take it to the world. So here we are. What's very interesting is I'm a very behind the scenes bruh. And I don't like to be seen by too many folks, but imagine this. Now I'm in front of a camera. But I'm going to tell you why I'm in front of the camera. Because my soul has been getting vexed so much by what is going on in the earth by way of us leaving reconciliation and embracing more so rivalry. We done fell into a problem, family. Our problem is we have forgotten how to think critically. And I believe we have forgotten how to think critically because we come towards every situation from a rivalry standpoint instead of a reconciliation standpoint. Let me say it like this before we start. Got a couple of rules. I think I'll say one at the beginning and then we'll speak one at the end. So we'll start it like this. Everybody repeat if you can. Live life that its experience may be learned. I repeat, y'all. Live life that its experience may be learned. Now you go chew on that, and later on we'll come and we'll talk about that together. But let's get back to rivalry versus reconciliation. Rivalry, it seems like in every category in this life, for whatever reason, we all are choosing to be in competitive mode and to either speak or hear the spirit of rivalry in any conversation instead of me really hearing you out. I like to use a word called assimilation. People hear that word and they hear it as a bad word. But when I use that word assimilation, when I'm dealing with someone else, I use the word assimilation because I feel like, from my perspective, and you can correct me, I have to have the opportunity to be able to speak how I see it from my view, from my lens. And then I have to turn around when it's not my turn to speak and then fall back and let you do the same. And then once we both put our views on the table, which literally is where the title Shades of Unity came from, because we talk about and specialize in conversations on race and cultural awareness. We had all shades and hues of the people come to the table and have them speak from their perspective of their hue and from their shade and put a pure perspective on the table without it being rehearsed or being conformed or being assimilated to anybody else's norm. And then we put it on the table and then we wrestle through it or reason together in how we can come to a common ground or a common agreement, at the very least, to where we can keep rivalry out of the equation. So think of it like this. Let's start right here. Everybody was born. Everybody got a birthday? You got a birthday? I ain't gonna tell you my birthday. But do you got a birthday? All right. You got a birthday. And imagine you're in your mother's belly. And when you're in your mother's belly, she's doing everything for you, right? So whatever you need pertaining unto stress level, She's controlling the stress level. Whatever you need concerning to be fed or food, she's not only just eating for herself, but she's eating for you also. So much so to where whatever your mother ate while you were in her belly, your taste buds was being developed off of what it is that she was eating. And so she's helping you and she's training you, she's carrying you, she's being a very responsible collaborator of the life that is with her, which is you. Next thing you know, her water breaks. After her water breaks, now the clock starts ticking. We start out collaborative, but now the clock starts ticking to where now we're going to a individual-based life. To where now we're connected, but we're not connected. What do I mean? Now we're no longer connected with this physical cord anymore. But in me being an individual, how I make my choices and how I make my decisions for my own individual life, it still does wreak as importance to my mother or my son to his mother or to me. It still has effects on it. Even though we're not physically connected anymore, the decision making still connects us. So even though I am an individual or my son is an individual, the clock starts to tick in his decision making and how that would not only affect him, but will affect all of us who love him. And so one elder used to say it to me like this. He would say, we are once an adult, twice a child. Where's the twice the child? When we're born, and then when we get on the end. Notice what twice the child represents. It takes community or collaboration on both sides. It took my mother to bear me. It took my father to raise me on the front end of that side, right? Because I'm a child, very vulnerable. But then you get on the back end and you may get to be so old to where now you need help again. You see older folks, next thing you know, they have canes and walkers and their body kind of starts to fail them and they need collaborative assistance again. And so that's the twice the child reference. But then in the middle, you have this independent adult who is learning how to do things on their own and, more importantly, to make decisions that is singular decisions. You might ask me, what do I got to do with this rivalry and reconciliation thing you're talking about? This is what it has to do with it. While I'm in the middle being an adult, not the two child parts on the front and the end, but being an adult, even though I'm making an individual decision, I have been trained how to make individual decisions. I have to remember in the back of my mind and in my heart that my individual decision is not just going to affect me, but it affects the collaborative or the community and what I'm a part of. Some people like to say, okay, well, Bo, if that's you talking about the black community. Nope. One might come to one of my white family members. All right, if you talking about that, you must be talking about the white community. Nope. None of that. Talking about the human family. The human family. Every decision that I make within a day, some way, some form, is going to connect to the outcomes of the human family at large. That's the responsibility that we all have upon our shoulders in having to balance out our individual moves versus how it affects the collective. Well, then the question might be, okay, well, how do we do that? To where, because that sounds like a big burden, which it is. It is a big burden until you get the rhythm of it and you strive to learn how to ride the bike, and get your steps in order. Then you'll see, how it works, how it works together. Sometimes you go to the gas station and you only got about $8 in your pocket. And you think, oh, this $8 will get me where I need to go. Next thing you know, it starts snowing real hard later that day. And they was stuck. And you get stuck on the freeway, and what should take 15 minutes, and that $8 should get you through. Now you need more gas than that. Next thing you know, you're stuck. Next thing you know, you're hitting on the steering wheel. You want the people to go. Hurry up! Want the people to go. Starting to get stressed. Starting to get upset. Starting to yell in your car. Starting to call people's names. Starting to project your anger on everybody else because you did not start the motivation of your decision making from a reconciliation standpoint. So then what happens? Everything in our life now starts to become about rivalry. Why? Because I don't want to be blamed. So it's rivalry. Next thing you know, my car start coughing. Yeah, you're going to run out of gas. That's right. Why? You didn't put enough in there. You know how many calories you put in. That's how many calories you're going to get out, right? What am I saying? It starts with us. When we do this thing, because see here at Shades of Unity PDX, what we do, we always, first and foremost, I don't even want to hear about race. We can talk about it, but that's not the primary. The primary is culture. And culture will then give us testimony of what energy are we intaking that then is going to give us energy to give energy back out. And so if we start with reconciliation, guess what we're going to give back out? Reconciliation. We start with rivalry, guess what we're going to give back out? Rivalry. We got a whole, look, we probably got about 95% of the people driving their life in their lives in this life that's running off of $8 worth of gas and was not ready for the circumstances or the climate to shift and change. Want to know why they wasn't ready? Because they was always looking outward instead of studying and looking at themselves inwardly. Family, this does not work. None of this works unless we first reflect on ourselves. Now, check this out. Let's say now I reflect on myself first, right? Which is good. But remember, once an adult, twice a child. So if I'm going to reflect on myself first, that means I'm in tune in making my decision and how it will benefit me individually first, or I am in tune to see what chastisement or correction that I may need, that it may, exercise me, that I may be benefited, to become better. But remember, our one decision is not just linked to us and nobody else. It's linked to the community, to the full collaboration. So then let's say I make a good decision. This is what I see a lot of in the earth right now. We make a good decision. And in making that good decision, next thing I turn around and I see somebody else who didn't make a good decision. And they reaped what they sowed in that certain sense of what I'm observing, and their outcomes are not the best outcomes. And I'm able to see that it's not the best outcome. How do I approach that? Do I jump on them and tell them, that's what you get? See, you should have. See, you should. Yeah, I can tell them, yeah, see, you should have. But you know what I should be doing while I'm telling them, see, you could have did this or you should have did that. At the same time, what do I need to do? I need to reflect it back on myself. I have to be able to see myself in them. It burns me to the core that nobody, rarely, no, we have some. I can't say everybody. We have some. But much of the stuff that I'm seeing is very novice in life, to where we're not reflecting on ourselves. It's like we're just choosing rivalry. When you just keep on choosing rivalry and you tell me what's wrong with me, check this out. If you tell me what's wrong with me, if I'm intelligent and if I'm wise, what should you know before you tell me what's wrong? What's your baseline to be able to tell me what's wrong with me? If you're going to tell me what's wrong with me, that means you know what's right or know how to do it right. Because that's the only way you're going to know it's being done wrong. So now that you know how to do it right, the next question it should gender, the next question that should come up is, have you who know how to do right, have you ever did wrong? And if you have done wrong, but you know how to do right, can you please share with me how to get back to right standing? Or are you going to hold it over my head like a weapon because I'm standing in wrong standing and may not know how to get back right, maybe not even know how to hit it right, and you're going to hold it over me as if you were never in my shoes? Or better yet, as if the origin of right started with you. If the origin of right started with you, why did you have an umbilical cord on you? Why didn't you chew your own food? Why didn't you change your own diaper? Why are you even using the restroom in the first place? You know what that means? That means you made a choice to eat some food, and all the food you ate wasn't good for nourishment. Some of it was waste, and it had to come out. Meaning you made a choice, and all of it wasn't for nourishment. So the question is, how is it that now we act as if we're the origin of what's right by hanging over the head a weapon of what's wrong, instead of, I'm not saying that we are not to be an example, to give instruction, as into what is where we can see what's wrong to get it back to right, but I'm there for experience sake to help. I'm not there to use it as a weapon, as if I'm getting my thrills, or as if I'm standing above you, as if I'm just hoping and praying you just keep on getting it wrong because I need some entertainment for this evening. No, I should, when I see you doing wrong, I should see myself. And if I see myself, then I should reflect on what was my journey of getting from wrong standing back to right standing. See, here's my thing. I don't believe a lot of us have ever even done that reflection. I believe a lot of culture in this land has no practice in cultural conflict resolution at all. Nobody is willing to make their journey. I'm making my journey right now. That's why it's called the Antoni to Bo Show. Both of those are my name. But I want to bridge and connect them. So when you're talking about Antoni, somebody say, oh, yeah, Bo. And when you're talking about Bo, they say, oh, yeah, Antoni. One's a family nickname. One is a government name. Both of them should coincide. Both of them should harmonize. I shouldn't be acting one way when you're around and one way when you ain't around. Because remember what our rule was. Live life that its experience may be learned. Live life that its experience may be learned. All that means is you got to study you for you to be a better you to help somebody else. If I skip me, then I definitely don't need to be talking about nobody else. If I'm not studying my own life and looking at both potentials, what's both potentials? Right standing, wrong standing. And how I reconcile those two things and where I'm at in the degrees of my life, I definitely don't need to be speaking to nobody else. I got enough work to be looking at myself, and studying myself. And it's not even mutually exclusive in the sense of if I do start talking to someone else, I better bounce that off of the foundation of I'm continuously looking at myself. So we got to start cleaning this up, family. And we got to get on this journey and learn that this journey is starting with ourselves. And then we can take our experiences and jump it on. I see a lot of things dealing with race and culture. And I know a lot of people who is talking about these different things have not even fellowshipped with the culture of the people who they're speaking about. So how do you even know the nuance or the movements or their whys or, I remember I was watching one thing. It was a police officer and he was talking to this black bruh. And the black bruh, was like, all right, I'm just trying to get here. And, they was going to let it be. And the black bro did like this. All right, man. He said like this. All right, man. And the police officer was like, man, what's that gang sign? He said, what? He said, man, what's that gang sign? He said, man, I said like this, man. I said like this. That means peace. Then the officer said, no, that don't mean peace. You said like this. Peace is like this. But you did this. He said, hey, all right, man, I don't got time for this. Look, man, for everybody, let me qualify this. Everybody know. If you from the neighborhood, we got a whole bunch of angles. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah. eh, 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 eh. It don't matter. All of it is speaking the same thing. It's a greetings and it's a farewell. But we won't know unless we fellowship with the culture. And then we won't even know unless we fellowship within the culture of ourselves for the purpose of taking the culture of ourselves to build it into the greater collective. So I think we're going to start right there. I think this is going to be a real wonderful journey. I think we'll learn a lot from each other. I think we'll use the space of assimilation, one to speak and then one to step back and to let the other speak. And we're going to start this journey together because we are in an emergency to where we have to know how to be neighborly to one another, but to do it without compromise. If something needs to get checked, it needs to get checked. But I'm going to check it because I love you. I always say it like that. You can chastise me, man, as long as I know you love me. Not celebrate over it, but because you love me, because you're seeing yourself, you're seeing your experience, you're seeing, if he turned that step, he goes two more that way, that ain't going to work, man. Let me help him out. And it's going to hurt, but ultimately, long range is going to be for the healing of, I-30, to the I-24. To the I-90. Now everybody driving because it's free. And your little $8, you say, woo, and now you're back going. You're back moving. You understand? So, you see it? Antoni LeBeau. I'm Antoni Bow. Look out for us. If you see us on the street, say what's up. Give us your greetings. In that, we'll leave you with this. We started it out with live life that its experience may be learned. And we'll end it with this. Can you read a book without ink and paper? Usually the people say, no. Then I'll come back and ask, can a book write itself? And they'll answer, no. Then I'll come back and ask, well, can you read a book without ink and paper? And they'll say, yes. And I'll say, how? And they'll say, go talk to the author. I say, bingo. All right, family. We're going to take this journey to learn how to go talk to the author. And that first author that we're going to speak to is ourselves. That we can take our own journey, that we can go from Antoni to Bo. Till next time, family. Love you. Always. Peace and blessings.